Alright, Byron is back, everybody!
Hi.
Say hello again. Reintroduce yourself to the people.
Fuck off. I mean, hey.
So he's back from the wedding, and he has survived the island.
Also correct.
And that's really all I have to say on the matter.
Very much correct.
Let's roll into 205 Live and NXT here. Kicking it off at 205 Live. On the good side, I really enjoyed Cedric Alexander and Tony Nese, and I really enjoyed TJP versus Rich Swann.
I did as well. I enjoyed Tony Nese more than pretty much anything else in the combination of those four wrestlers, which is weird. But
it's kind of nice to see him coming along, to be honest, because he started out really green, and it's getting a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
He's really learning how to put a match together. It still needs a little bit of work, but he's really good with kind of striking spots, does a good job of making me believe that he is actually hitting people, does a pretty good job in some of the chain wrestling sequences. The push or the stomach crunch kicks in the corner are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting actually better on the mic, which I thought was one of the big weaknesses when he came in. So that's also a big positive. And he is definitely a very athletic specimen. I think I don't want to say the sky is the limit, because I say that with a lot of prospects, and I don't believe he's quite that talented. But he can go very, very high up on the card if they continue to handle him well and let him work and develop.
I would agree. It seems as though Rich Swann has really, really hit a ceiling, in as much as he's only really... Well, I mean, this is true of virtually everybody in the WWE, but he's only really having one match. He just happens to be having it. He's had the same one repeatedly with TJP, but he's also had the same match with everybody else he's wrestled. And I don't know why I should be continuing to care about Rich Swann. That's the thing.
I'm not nearly as hard on it, because I thought this match was at least a little bit different. They did some different things with it. I just sometimes think you're a little bit of a hater on Rich Swann.
I'm not. I just want to, I just don't know why I should be caring.
I am, to a degree, somewhat on the same page, in that even when they put the title on him, I didn't really get why, it was him. I didn't really understand why this was the next big face. Because you had, in my opinion anyways, a lot of better options down there that you could have taken the title off of Brian Kendrick with. You could have gone with Gentleman Jack Gallagher. You could have waited for Cedric Alexander to be healthy. That might have been too long, but I think Cedric really would be the golden goose in that case. You could have gone with Mustafa Ali even. And I didn't really understand why they went with Rich Swann. But this was a pretty solid matchup with TJP. They did some different things, kept it going. It didn't feel like they were just going from spot to spot, which is sometimes something that Rich Swann is heavily guilty of. And a lot of other people, because that's how WWE scripts their matches.
Yeah, it's very much, and you can tell who's following the script, because everything is spot and plod, and spot and plod, and eventually you fill up enough time, and that's supposed to be a match.
Yeah, both of these matches, though, did a better job of doing that, and even the squash match with Mark Taylor out there to just get jobbed out to Noam Dar was pretty good. I would have had Noam Dar come out with some ladies, just every week. Just find some hot chicks for him to come out with, because the whole deal was, he dumped Alicia Fox because he's got a girl in every city and whatever. I mean, go with it. Just go with the whole 9 yards on that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd basically skip that match because I don't care about the Scottish egg or whatever his.
You know what? He was pretty decent on the mic here, and I mean the match is nothing. Don't bother going back and watching the match. But he's pretty decent on the mic, and he can wrestle if they let him. They just really haven't been up until this point. Well, they kind of did in the I Quit match with Cedric Alexander. We got to see the quality there. So hopefully they let him. Hopefully they let him wrestle, and they give him something that's just not annoying, because the whole Alicia Fox thing was terrible.
Incredibly bad.
And please God, don't let him end up in a feud with Alicia Fox with a man as her surrogate. That would be bad.
No, 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 no. Kill yourself.
Kill yourself, please, for the love of God. We also had two big kind of non-match segments here. Brian Kendrick with a backstage promo about Jack Gallagher and then ensuing beatdown. I like the beatdown. It was kind of one that we don't often see. It wasn't just the jumping from behind, hit him with a big move, and then that's kind of it. It was, more of a continual beatdown where, like, Kendrick had to even leave his jacket behind to escape it.
Yeah.
So I like that. This feud still not really doing anything for me, though.
Yeah, I've heard Brian Kendrick do the same promo with his mouth virtually closed somehow, just moving his lips like I am now, and just kind of don't really care. Again, he's another one of these guys. Not sure why I should give a shit. Like, I gave a shit when he was Spanky, oddly enough, because he's the little dude up against the big dudes, and you care about stuff like that. But the Brian Kendrick, who dresses like a pirate, had a very bad drug experience, which I suppose is apt for his particular...
He did at one point tag team with Paul London.
Yeah. And I could see that working if they were still a tag team. But he's another one of those guys. Not really sure why I should care. He's the guy that begged for a title win. That's Brian Kendrick now.
Yeah. And it's really disappointing because Brian Kendrick does have a history in WWE. He's been around for a really long time. People want to care about him. This is kind of the difference between him and Rich Swann in this regard. Is Rich Swann, I'm not entirely certain that there is something to care about. Like, I feel like Rich Swann is an okay worker, perfectly acceptable, but nothing spectacular. Yeah. Not a great promo, not a great character or anything. Like, Brian Kendrick, I am aware, is all of these things. And they have him going out there, and either he doesn't believe in the shit he's being given, or which I don't blame him because it's shit. Or I don't know what. Like they're just, it's the anti-push. Like, you have a guy who I know can do a lot in this division, and you're not letting him.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not sure he can do a lot in this division. I've seen zero proof of that. I've seen everything he has to throw in the ring, as far as I know, because he only ever does the same 6 or 7 moves. Just like everybody else. It's like everybody in the WWE has a quota. What's your 7 moves? Okay, this is my 7 moves. Maybe you shouldn't do the same 4 as I do. Okay, cool. Now we have a slightly different 7 moves. It's like the storytelling's a real issue these days, really. And the TJP Rich Swann match in this case was perfectly acceptable in all regards, including the storytelling, but that's as far as I'm willing to go with it. I'm looking forward, oddly, like, it was the aftermatch stuff that actually made me give a shit. I kind of want to see, like, Rich Swann actually has an expression on his face that isn't, I'm dancing, guys.
I kind of want to see heel Rich Swann.
That'd be fun.
Like, am I the only one that's really hoping this results in heel Rich Swann and face TJP?
That would be, I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't know how they'd pull it off, because TJP's an excellent heel. So
he's an excellent face too, though, but they've got Rich being, like, a pretty poor sport about this whole friendly competition thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, for example, if TJP was out there cheating to win or something, it would make sense why he, I see who you really are, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nah, dude just beat you and then kind of showboated a little bit, which, considering you're Rich Swann, king of the showboat, you should be able to take that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Mr. Phoenix Splash with the short dreads and wears pink and dances everywhere. You should be able to take a little showboating.
Oh, I think you could easily end up with him as the heel.
I enjoyed the jaw jacking all the way back to the locker room. That was good.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing we had was a sit-down interview with Corey Graves and Akira Tozawa. I thought this was well done, but that this was everything that they've already done with Neville and Tozawa. This feud has kind of been stretched out, I think, to the limits of what it really can be. Like, not match-wise, because they've actually had, I think, like, only one match, but they've had so many confrontations that it's just the same stuff being said over and over again.
Absolutely. I'm not sure why Mr. Titus Worldwide wasn't out there. I would have actually enjoyed seeing him, which is so weird to say.
It's so bizarre that we want to see Titus O'Neil.
He's really hit his stride. It's really cool.
Someone was talking to me about this, but Titus O'Neil and Enzo Amore as like battling faction managers on 205 Live could be interesting.
And Corey Graves. Can we make it a trifecta?
Well, Corey Graves is the announcer, so you can't really do that. But I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I want Corey Graves to have his own faction, that's all.
But, because of course you gotta figure out what to do with Enzo Amore at this point, because, in the ring, he's just not, he's nothing. Like, you screwed this up, because him and Cass worked as a tag team. Mm-hmm. I'm not overly certain either of them can work as a singles.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold. I think together they could have had a great program, but nobody knows how to book anymore, apparently. So that's
I think there's no hope that Enzo, for a couple of reasons. Number one, the fact that he has heat in the back. Number two, the fact that he's not a great worker, and he's a very dangerous worker to himself. Like the way he does certain movements, how off balance he gets, he's gonna hurt himself again. And you combine that with not a great work rate, the fact that he's small, he's like Vince McMahon's never gonna take that seriously. So like your only real option with him is a manager gimmick or another tag team,
which I'm fine with.
Which I'm fine. I'm fine with either of those options.
He could be the Xavier Woods of a new faction.
I could dig with that. Xavier Woods can wrestle.
This may be an excellent segue. You can congratulate me later. There has been talk, which I'm sure you're aware of, for the past month, of a second superstar shakeup in probably September. They're thinking, and the additional rumor to that rumor is that they're opening NXT to that, as in not just plucking people from NXT, but also sending maybe a couple people down as well to get repolished or what have you. So his name's come up a couple times in conjunction with that, and I'm not totally opposed to him going back down to NXT for 6 months, picking up some running buddies, and then going back to the main show, and then beat the shit out of Cass at, I don't know, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, something.
I could see that working. I don't like the superstar shakeup idea, personally. I would do something less random. With the superstar shakeup, for example, last time they did it, frankly, SmackDown just lost, straight up. They lost a ton of talent and didn't gain any return.
And it's taken a while to rebuild. Yeah.
So I'd prefer a trade window and then an NXT draft or something. Do that kind of thing. Because I think that could be super interesting in a way to keep things fresh. But I'm not really a fan of just kind of the random shakeups, because I don't trust this company to do it in a balanced fashion.
No. The other part of it is that when they're doing the superstar shakeup, they legitimately, apparently, unless you're one of the top 4 or 5 dudes in the company, or ladies, I don't know. Excuse me. Probably could have taken my thumb off the press talk for that one. Anyway, apparently, unless you're one of the absolute chop guys, they don't tell you. They keep it real kayfabe, and you get sent to whatever program you get sent to, and that's it.
I would personally take this to a new level and have them be actual separate brands, in the sense that it would literally be not Vince McMahon saying, okay, you're going to trade for this guy and you're going to send this guy, but Shane McMahon or whoever you want to have do it. I mean, whatever power structure you want actually does okay, we need this guy. Have it be an actual trade negotiation. That could be really interesting.
I would do it like a Major League Sports thing. There would be a trade deadline. So every year, you could make trades between X date and X date. So say between the beginning of October and like 2 weeks before Royal Rumble, maybe.
And then have a yearly NXT draft on top of that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you could trade for dudes. You could draft guys from NXT or 205 Live, or if that's ever going to be a thing that's allowed. And yeah, I would do it like that.
And to be honest, it would have added a lot to this Jason Jordan storyline, which is not really going anywhere good.
No, or you could do it. You could do it during this period of time, the period between the random bullshit pay-per-views after WrestleMania and SummerSlam. Have your draft period or have your trade period be between there, and then
that'd probably be best because then you could set up the WrestleMania storylines.
Exactly. Also, you have the opportunity to not have the worst TV programming known to man for reasons only explained by complete laziness and retardation.
Pretty much, yeah. Except we'll still get that because they'll still be lazy and retarded.
Correct.
Alright, you ready to roll on to NXT?
Well, see, I was trying to roll us into NXT with the whole NXT trade rumors, so
there you
why
go.
don't we do that?
Take us in.
Take
us wherever you want to go.
Well, on the good side of things, we had a nice looking lady in a very small bathrobe. On the bad side of things, nothing bad happened to that bathrobe. Little disappointed. And that's
he is referring to Zelina Vega, aka Thea Trinidad, aka
Correct.
Austin Aries' receptacle.
Woman. We refer to her in the Led Zeppelin term, which is woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's very attractive. Well, I don't know about very attractive. She has
pretty damn attractive. I remember I remember her being really about the only reason to watch LAX back in Impact Wrestling was her, Sarita Hernandez, and Anarquia. Which, by the way, hilarious one. I remember Brian Alvarez spitting this beauty out. So he's talking about LAX. He's like, you got 4 people pretending to be Mexican, and it's a Canadian, a Puerto Rican, an American, and a guy from Texas and a girl from New York, and they're pretending to be Mexicans. God damn, can't we get a Mexican in here?
See rapido.
Which actually does bring up to what we were talking about, because Thea Trinidad always gets cast as a Mexican.
Correct.
Wherever she goes. I don't think she's actually Mexican, so I'm puzzled.
I did look her up, and there on Wikipedia there is zero mention of her ethnicity, so she could be.
Could be, but like she's from New York and has the definitive accent.
Yeah, she's born and raised in Queens, New York. Billed from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
But like it shows up even in her.
It says, here we go. She is of Puerto Rican descent, which is, as everybody knows, fast talking Mexican.
There you go. So not even really Mexican. But but yeah, I mean, it came up here. Well, let's break down the match here. It was Andrade Cien Olmos, who's her associate, versus No Way Jose, and Andrade got the win. With the interesting thing being, she's like trying to give him focus. Because he's been the party boy, too lazy, doesn't really care about wins and losses sort of thing, and she's trying to get him back on the right track, as it were.
Yeah, but we don't know why, and I don't really give a shit.
We still don't really know who she is.
I have no motivation, and therefore I don't give a shit about her. Like, I don't care why they're together, and I don't care about what they're doing, because I don't know why they're together.
Yeah.
The match itself, I would say, was okay. I wasn't terribly impressed either way, other than people seem to shit on No Way Jose a lot, and I don't understand why, because he's at worst, perfectly acceptable.
I agree that he's perfectly acceptable. It's just, for a while there, he had like a lot of hype behind him, and it was kind of the opposite of what we have now, where it's like, there was a lot of hype on you, and I don't get why. And now it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of hate on you, and I don't really get why, but it's probably just a reaction to the hype.
Yeah, I guess so. I enjoy what he does in the ring. I never really have a problem with it. I never see him botch anything. The crowd loves him. Granted, it may just be the NXT crowd, but he knows how to work that crowd. And yeah, you can write it on up. I'm I'm pretty okay with No Way Jose.
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with like this.
If somebody tells me he's going to be in a match, I'm like, all right, okay.
I'm not looking forward to it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, like I'm perfectly willing to watch that match. I have no aversion to watching a No Way Jose match.
Yeah. So Andrade gets the win, continuing their actually really long feud because before No Way Jose got hurt, they were feuding. Yeah. So we're kind of back to that. Anyways, what I was getting at is Zelina Vega then goes to the announce booth and like gets on the mic and cuts a promo, basically trying to set up Johnny Gargano versus Almost a Takeover.
Yeah.
And you can see it. Like, she starts off, like, the accent's good, and then, like, towards the middle of the promo, it's like, there's that New York accent, and the Mexican is gone! I don't know why. I don't get it. There's a lot of pretty Mexican girls that you could have do this same gig. Mm-hmm. And it would be better, I think, because they wouldn't lose character. Whereas
I would agree.
She will. I've seen her try to be a Mexican when she was Rosita in LAX, and of the LAX group, she was probably the worst for actually staying in character. Surprisingly enough, Sarah Stock, Dark Angel Sarah Stock, who was Sarita in the group, her tag team partner, is a Canadian wrestler who actually really does do the Mexican girl very well, because she's been wrestling in Mexico for like ever. So she did a better job of that. But I would just let her be from New York. I mean,
quite frankly, is there anything that Canadians don't do better than Americans, including be Mexican?
Apparently. Because, I mean, apparently a lot of people thought Vampiro was Mexican for the longest time.
See.
So, there you go.
You mean he's not?
I do mean that he's not.
Wow.
Let's talk about some other good stuff here.
I liked the fact that Oney Lorcan versus Birch 2 was different than the first one, but my problem with it is that it was too different.
It was definitively not to their strengths. Like, these are two brawlers.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah, sure, it's good to be a little bit different. The fact that there was very little, for lack of a better term, brawling in this match definitely led it to be a letdown. Like, it's a match that if I had seen this before I saw Lorcan versus Birch 1, I probably would have liked it. But the fact that I had seen the first match and been really, really impressed with it meant that this one was kind of let down. Also, the ending kind of thing with Lorcan kind of being a sore loser, I didn't like. It just doesn't fit his character.
Well, it kind of fits his character, but it's not really necessary. Like, it's something that I could see come out if he loses the third match. I could see that, but there's no reason to. And he didn't really. It could have all been fine if he just kind of. If he did what he did and then go to the ropes and kind of grab on the ropes and kind of hunch over and go, oh, fuck, shit, god damn it, well, whatever. And then he turns around and shakes his hand, but it was kind of weird and disjointed.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Obviously scripted.
And it should have been, like, really simple. It should have been basically the ending of the first match, only with the roles reversed. Lorcan going, one more time. And Birch being like, hell yeah. And then we get the trilogy match. Whereas this one was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. But I like the fact that they didn't just do the same thing again. On the other hand, I would have loved to see the same thing again. So I applaud their willing to take risks. It's just that they didn't quite have all the ducks in a row. That's all.
Yeah. Let's see, other than that, I actually really enjoyed the Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre, Roderick Strong, William Regal stuff. I will say that Roddy Strong cannot cut a promo. He really, really cannot. For a guy who's been in the business as long as he is, his promo work is bad.
Yeah, I've heard. So I heard McIntyre's promo last week, and I've heard Bobby Roode cut the same promo his entire NXT career, so I skipped all of that until I saw that Roddy Strong was coming out. And I go, ooh, let's back up and watch that. And yeah, you're right. He's not fantastic on the promos, but he is very sincere, which is what the people key up on. So I enjoy that part of it. It's just that he needs to... They need to stop scripting him at all. They just need to say, listen, this is why you're mad, this is what we need out of you, go. And just let him go.
And his interactions with Regal were really not good, because it was just like, I respect what you said. I'm like, but you're going against exactly what he said. You clearly don't respect it. Like,
Mr. Regal, sir.
That part was bad.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that Bobby Roode kind of ventured into slightly new territory, though.
Did he?
Kinda. I mean, he went kind of full delusional heel to a degree, which was pretty funny, because, like, he had a bit where he got McIntyre to agree, like, McIntyre and Strong agreed to the match. He's like, Mr. Regal, make the match. And then he offered McIntyre his hand, and then he did, it will be glorious. I'm like, oh god, he is so drunk on his own power. It's hilarious. So I enjoyed that. I really did. I enjoyed McIntyre's bit as well. Nothing groundbreaking, but just, doing what he needs to do well. I don't overly like the booking of this, though, because you have Roddy Strong versus McIntyre next week. Yeah. And I'm assuming Bobby Roode will come out and, like, cause a ruckus, and we end up with 3-way at the pay-per-view. That's my thought.
I'm of two kind of minds on that one. Either you're right, they do that, or maybe they go to a draw, or double count out, or shit like that. That would be the better way to do it, in my opinion.
I don't think you can, though, just because William Regal has been so against. Like, Roddy Strong has gone against William Regal at this point, so you would think that in the event of a double count out, Regal would just be like, tough shit.
I told you, motherfucker.
I told you. You didn't listen. Now you don't get shit. And then, of course, if you go with a winner in that match, Roddy Strong getting the win and getting his shot at Bobby Roode, now you've got a guy coming off a loss going for the title. Or you have Drew McIntyre win, and then Roddy Strong doesn't get his shot at Bobby Roode, and in which case, why do we waste our time?
Yeah, my thing is that there's no fucking way that they are as dumb as they have booked this and plotted it out for me. Because, from what I've been told by young Robert Roode Jr. the Fourth, this is how it's going to go. Next week, we're going to have a number one contenders match. And when Drew McIntyre wins, that'll be the end of it. And then...
It's not actually a number one contenders match, though.
No, sorry.
McIntyre's getting the title shot at TakeOver regardless.
Yeah, the number one contender is going to have a match. Sorry. And then Drew McIntyre is booked to win that, so there's no reason to go any further with this. And then Bobby Roode's booked to win at the TakeOver, and then Bobby Roode will be booked to lose against Roddy Strong, who already lost to the number one contender, who will then later on lose to the still number one contender, because there's no other contender, and that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. I'm not...
So...
There's a lot of booking paradoxes here.
So... What I have to assume is there's going to be shenanigans next week. There's going to be a 3-way at TakeOver. They really, really, really should put that title on Roddy, so they probably won't. And then they'll just have Roddy chase the title for another 6 months and then probably release him. Even though by that point he'll be the most over thing since sliced Sami Zayn.
Like, the thing is, they really already should have put the title on Roddy if they were going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You're at this point actually getting in danger of cooling him off too much to really make it be a big pop.
Yeah, he's been off TV for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like this, so they've only done vignettes. So like, oh, he's insulted his fiancée again. No match, no comeuppance, no nothing. Oh, look, he's insulted his fiancée again. No match, no comeuppance, no nothing.
It feels like they milked this too long. Like, they shouldn't have brought McIntyre into this whole thing. Like, it should have just been Roddy gets the title off Bobby Roode, wins the return match, Bobby Roode goes to main roster. Then you can kind of build McIntyre up as a heel to go after the title, and boom.
Yeah.
Like, everyone still ends up being happy, but it just makes a lot more sense from a logical story progression.
Yarp.
And yeah, they pooched this pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't. The only thing I can think of is if they are going to move into a three-way dance for the title, and Roddy Strong, and both of those guys put Roddy over huge in that match, and then we get a really great, like, man overcoming everything type story. And then he's easily defeated by a debuting Dalton Castle. No, that's not going to happen.
I would love it. I would love it.
That would be good. And AOP come down as the boys. Perhaps not. That's the only thing I can think of, is if they're looking to put him over way stronger and way more than they would even just against just a one-on-one match with Bobby Roode. Even though everybody wanted him to win that match. Literally everybody on the planet. Even the people in India who are never going to buy your network, Vince. What the fuck's wrong with you? Even the people in India were behind Roddy Strong on that one. Get it together.
Yeah, not really digging it. As for the rest of the show, we had Sanity do a little beat up on the AOP and the return of Eric Young, which I'm not gonna lie, got me hyped.
Yeah, Eric Young coming out of nowhere was friggin' awesome. I was a little mystified. Did they zip tie both that guy's hands or just one? Cause
just the one.
That's where it all kind of fell apart for me. I'm watching. Was it Razar or Akam or Shakem not stirred?
Razar was the one that got zip tied. Akam was the one that got beat down.
I'm gonna start referring to one as Shakem, the other one is not stirred. Yeah, that was a little weird. I did like the fact that he ripped the barricade off the whatever and then towed it into the ring or partially into the ring. I like that part. But you really should have got both hands, not just the one, and use bigger zip ties. Use the actual flex cuffs.
Yeah, totally. The other thing is, I thought this should have happened earlier. Like, you know how we had that weird thing when they tried to fight AOP and got their butts kicked? And kind of really just ruined my anticipation for this match. That should have been this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they don't want anybody going over on AOP unless there's a massive numbers advantage, which, as we've seen in the past, doesn't matter anyway because they took out two of your top tag teams in one match a couple times, didn't they?
Yeah. When they were doing the stuff with DIY and the Revival, yeah.
So we've established that they could beat two full-fledged top tag teams. Why the fuck would we even be concerned about kind of a meh tag team plus Eric Young plus a girl who doesn't get involved? Because
I would like it if she would get involved because she's honestly the best part of the lead up to these to these confrontations.
Well, when she was standing on the apron and going berserk the first confrontation they had, I wanted her to just get him. Just get out there and charge and stomp him and do an attack. Sure, you're going to get obliterated, but do something.
But you're crazy. It works.
They just walked on past, and she just kind of stood there. And that was
like adorable. At least have her take out Ellering or something.
Yeah, go after Ellering.
Ellering can take a bump.
I don't think so. I think maybe Ellering's a little.
Nah, he took a bump during the feud with DIY.
Yeah, but we're talking about professional.
Not like a great. Not like I'm not asking for a big bump. I'm just asking for like a fall down onto the ramp type of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like I'm not asking for him to take something off the top rope or some shit. I'm just saying like from the apron to the floor type of deal. Like he can still do that.
I don't know. He's like 93 bajillion years old.
It's not quite that old. But yeah,
70 back in the 70s.
This kind of thing is like they've kind of messed up the NXT title picture by not putting on Roddy, and they've kind of not handled this Sanity versus AOP thing all that well.
No, they really haven't done the tag team titles that well. I mean, the heavy machinery thing was really cool.
That was good.
And then it was just done.
That one being a one and done, I thought was a big problem. They could have gotten more mileage out of that, and then you wouldn't be stuck. You wouldn't be stuck trying to do this kind of numerical thing with Sanity quite as much. Yeah,
I mean, now we got Street Profits, which I'm not terribly sold on. It's very much another plod to a spot match.
Well, with the Street Profits, I believe you got a bit of a green, rough around the edges product.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued to see where they will go because they are actually both like when they were talking about their athletic background and stuff, that's not hype. That is actually legit.
Yeah.
Like, these two guys are very athletic guys.
The most decorated athlete among them is A, the fatter one of the two, and B, has spent 5 years in NXT by this point.
Yeah.
So if they're green and rough around the edges, what the fuck are they doing?
I've said this repetitively. I think that the training process they have, it hasn't turned out anyone yet.
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't. And I mean, there's obviously multiple ways you can look at it. The people that they brought in were not ready, were not able to get ready, or what I tend to theorize is that your training process doesn't actually work. Mm-hmm. Because in terms of success, performance center success, you have Enzo and Cass, and we talked about them earlier that I don't really think they're necessarily even successes. Like Enzo, dynamite on the mic, but can't really work, and Cass is just generic big man in the ring.
I would probably still lay their failure to take over the world at Vince's feet entirely on that one.
Oh, no. Everything comes back to Vince, because this is the thing. If we've been told for years Vince McMahon is the genius visionary behind the company. All the good stuff is is because of him. Mm-hmm. All the bad stuff then is also because of him. Because if you have that kind of power, either you made a bad decision or you made a non-decision that led to it being a bad decision. So if you're not willing to delegate the success, you also take 100% of the blame.
Yep.
And that's absolutely the case. And that's what I mean, is I think the Performance Center is also Vince's problem. You haven't really produced a ton out of it. You've kind of taken a couple of indie guys and repurposed them and kind of made us think that they're your guys. Like, I mean, Samoa Joe is not your guy. Johnny Gargano is not your guy. Tommaso Ciampa, not your guy. The Revival as a team is, but as like individuals isn't. Of course, Shinsuke Nakamura is hella not your guy.
Correct.
And your early successes like Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose are not your guy, because, I mean, Rollins was an ROH champion and Ambrose was a CZW champion before they got to
About the only thing you can do is point to Roman Reigns, but even he's not, like, he's hated by
Roman Reigns, I would suggest, is actually a bit of a failure. Although, it's not, I've said this kind of, like, a couple of times. It's not his fault. No. He does an eloquent job in the ring as a big man. Does have a couple of botches. But I mean, he does but he's largely his moveset. If you have a problem with it, which I do, I don't like the like wind up Superman punch, for example.
Stroke that thing.
Yeah, stroke that thing. Hard. But I mean, that's something he was given basically again Vince McMahon's fault, and Vince McMahon scripts his promos and so on. But yeah, there's not. You don't really have a success story, and I kind of like I have a general refusal to believe that all the people that they brought into the Performance Center just couldn't hack it in the business. I mean, you're always going to have a percentage of them just be not worth the time, but you're telling me that almost all of them aren't worth the time. So either your training is shit, or your scouting is shit.
Yup. And I'm willing to think that they don't have scouting. They just have people that Vince will grudgingly accept. Which is so weird.
Well, I imagine they have some kind of, like, people who bring stuff to Vince at the very least.
Oh, yeah. Like, Regal apparently does scouting all the time. And so does Triple H and all that stuff. People you would think that Vince would be all over, like, you think this guy's good? Alright, cool. Well, what can you do? Alright, cool, awesome, we'll do that. But apparently, Vince just, like, they bring them people like, Kevin Owens, like, when they scouted Kevin Steen on the Indies, and Vince still didn't give a shit. Vince allowed them to sign him, but he had zero hope, plans, foresight, nothing. Like, apparently Vince could not see any money in a guy who can do literally everything. I have no idea what the fuck goes through his head.
Because he overrates the cosmetic portion of the business to a tremendous degree.
I will not disagree with that whatsoever, but At this point,
and to be clear,
in his career, he can't see talent.
To be honest here, I do believe look plays a role. Like, a lot of what I think of Roman Reigns being worth some money if properly handled is the look.
Yeah.
But there's also the mic work, there's the in-ring work. Like, Bret Hart kind of said it best when he was asked, okay, they asked him in a shoot interview when he was doing Timeline of 92, and he's like, I think it's a combination of all three, and he's like rating himself and rating other wrestlers at the time. And he's like, you gotta have an aggregate score of something. Like, you could have a great look, 10 out of 10, but if you're 0 out of 10 on the other two, what use are you?
Yeah, no, I can understand that entirely. But you take someone like Kevin Steen / Owens, for people who don't know, and you take somebody like that. And they have a unique look. Like, he doesn't look like anybody else that you can point to. He doesn't look like any other fat guy on the indie scene. He doesn't look like any of that. And he's at his worst, he's at least 7.5 out of 10 on the mic. At the absolute worst. And he's 10 out of 10 in the ring if you let him wrestle. Just let him fucking wrestle.
Unless it's against Joey Matthews, and Matthews is high out of his mind.
That's beside the point, but yes, you're not wrong. At this point, Vince is like 97 or some dumb shit like that. He can't see talent? You can't, like, people can't, if that's true.
The other thing is, it's kind of ridiculous because Owens is proven to be worth money. Like, he got a title run, he's been U.S. champion, been Universal champion, etc. So, at some point, you have to admit that you were wrong, and that you have to reevaluate what you thought talent was.
Yeah, but he's been wrong his entire career. Like, Vince has been wrong about, I'm going to say, 80% of the talent that came through his federation, he's been wrong about.
Oh, probably. I mean, he didn't think Steve Austin was worth any money initially. He didn't really think... He wasn't really high on Bret Hart when he signed him. No. Or Shawn Michaels. He was high on The Rock. I'll give him that. But he also didn't have any idea what to do with Mick Foley. So... Nope. Didn't
have a clue what to do with John Cena.
And there's, of course, a number of guys that he thought were going to be worth tremendous money that weren't, like, in any real shape or form.
Hey man, Max Moon's the best. You shut up.
Well, I don't think he ever thought Max Moon was actually worth any money.
Max Moon is the best.
But I'm more thinking like a Lex Luger, or there was that Canadian bodybuilder that he thought was going to be the next Hulk Hogan.
Oh, not Dino Bravo?
No, it wasn't Dino Bravo.
Love Dino Bravo. Shout out to Dino Bravo.
Yeah, the guy I'm talking about didn't really have much of a career. He just it was like, next Hulk Hogan, and then he had a match, and they're like, oh, maybe not.
What about Brackus? Brackus is very nice.
Brackus, another example of a guy that he apparently was very high on, and
how much time did they give him on the main roster? Like, he was around for like 3 or 4 years. They even sent... Once they realized he wasn't shit, they sent him off to ECW to do a show or something like that.
Yeah. And then brought him back.
Yeah. Paid him more money, probably.
But, I mean, there's other examples of it. That, like, people who either didn't pan out due to, like, unforeseen reasons, like injuries and possible drug habits, that kind of thing. And then there's just people that really were not really worth it. And he's never really changed what he thinks of as what works. The Monday Night Wars was the only time he basically had to go with what worked.
Yeah.
He had to listen to other people, be it Jim Ross, Vince Russo, Jim Cornette to a degree, etc., etc., etc. And once WCW folded, we've gone into this shit where it's who Vince wants to push, and that's really about it, except for John Cena.
It continues to amaze me the amount of different wrestlers they sign on a continual basis, and Vince constantly misuses, mishandles, misrepresents, just doesn't know. It's very apparent for all of his genius. Maybe he could read a crowd on the night and tell somebody to do something like Jinder Mahal. He rewrote his promo and said, no, go out and do this, and it worked immediately. He's apparently very good at that. Apparently, Vince should just be a road agent, and somebody else needs to run that fucking ship, because it ain't working. He can't do anything long term. He cannot recognize talent, and he deliberately, I think at this point, he's deliberately mishandling NXT talent, just so that he can be right and throw away.
Oh yeah, no, I mean
millions of dollars.
It's the thing is, if Vince McMahon wants to prove himself right, he can. He can make self-fulfilling prophecies anytime he wants. Because again, like, as much as WWE is not real competition, it's not real, it's scripted, etc. If you make someone lose enough, we lose interest.
Yep.
And I mean, we could point out to numerous options, like Dolph Ziggler, for example. For whatever reason, he was not big on Dolph Ziggler, and a couple of people were like telling him, "No, Dolph's good, Dolph's good, Dolph's good." So they put money in the bank on him, and then just Vince is like, "All right, he's gonna lose, he's gonna lose, he's gonna lose, he's gonna lose. He's gonna cash in here and get the title, but it's gonna be a shit reign. He's gonna lose, he's gonna lose, he's gonna lose." Oh man, I mean, the crowd's just not really connecting with him. I think I was right, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, to follow through on that, I mean, look at what he's done to Kevin Owens. It's proven
or Sami Zayn or Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, proven money, proven 100%. You put the title on him, drew money like you wouldn't believe. You can say as much as you want that Jericho did have a hand in it, but it wasn't all Jericho. Most of it was Kevin Owens, because he had to do more than his part and wrestle those matches. So they managed to survive the onslaught of Holman Haynes and came up smelling like a rose and went to WrestleMania and did good things, and then is like, oh, by the way, now you're just going to be a chicken shit useless guy. Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, like, even look at AJ Styles. Like, there's a number of podcasts, like, from former wrestlers, and take it with a grain of salt or whatever. Yeah. But they're all kind of telling a very similar story about him, like, talking about them going to go in there with AJ Styles and just squash this twerp and end it. Like, he did not think there was money in AJ.
Yeah.
And there is. Like, that's... Again, it goes back, if you're not this tall, this handsome, and this big, I don't care.
Which I am.
Let's see here. So, anyways, we were talking about the NXT, the Performance Center, basically, from this, and that's kind of my thing is, I fully believe, like, we've had this debate before where you're like, guys should be cut after X amount of time. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think at the same time, I think the Performance Center is broken, and they need to figure out a way to make it work.
Well, they got Steve Corino now, so fuck.
I hope. Well, it depends if he's allowed to do shit. Like, there's been people there who know what they're doing, and I don't think they're really allowed to really do it, because I think, again, it's back to that whole, you're going to wrestle WWE style, which means you don't stand out in any way.
Well, we're going to give you the same 5 moves. We're going to have everybody out the gate, and then you're going to have to develop 2 more, and then maybe at some point we'll let you be on TV.
So anyways, Street Profits won against the Metro Brothers, which... What the hell is with that name? Sweet God! Trademarked. Oh my... JC Metro? Really? Apparently. Come on! Oh my God.
Let him be known as JC Penny.
Dead on arrival. Dead on arrival.
Yarp.
And they basically just got the greaser gimmick that Deuce and Domino had. Oh my God. Oh, so bad. And I feel bad because these guys apparently were trained by the Dudleys, and the Dudleys are actually pretty good trainers.
Yep.
So these guys could probably do something, if not saddle with this shit gimmick.
Yeah, Joey jumped on Messenger last night, and he's like, "What the fuck what the hell is this? The Metro Brothers?" I'm like, "Are they sexual in any way?" Hold on, let me watch this.
Oh man, it's almost like the Velveteen Dream gimmick that they gave Patrick Clark, which is kind of working, but it's like, who thought that this should work, and do they still have a job?
Yeah.
If they do, fire them.
Yeah. Would it be weird that I want to now see the Metrosexual Brothers and the Velveteen Dream as a faction?
Oh, we might as well go there. I mean, we might as well. And then the only other thing was iconic ones were doing a promo. Ruby Riott was in the background. Presumably, where you get that beginning.
I skipped it.
No, I'm with you there. I don't find the iconic ones entertaining in any way. They're like, this is a problem that wrestling's had for like a long time, specifically with women wrestlers, is that you end up with like someone who has a gimmick that doesn't make any logical sense. Like, you are two attractive Australian girls who want to talk about makeup and girly stuff and all this. Why are you wrestlers?
Yep.
Like,
are they wrestlers? Do they wrestle?
They do wrestle.
Awesome.
Not particularly well, but they do wrestle.
Because if you're going to be an eyesore duo, iconic duo, maybe be good at wrestling, and then you can somehow.
I'm not even trying to blame these girls. It's like, this is the gimmick they were given, and it's just like, what is this gimmick? It's the same thing that happened with like when Stacy Keibler was a wrestler, for example. It's like, I don't buy that you want to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, why are you not just a manager? Like,
I do not know.
And like Tori Wilson, same kind of deal. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's impacted kind of the same thing with the with Brooke Adams, the ass model, where like they had her as a office assistant to Eric Bischoff, and then Bischoff learned that she was fucking around with Kevin Nash and shit. So he's like basically he demoted her from his personal whore to wrestler, and it's like,
okay.
So why are you wrestling? Like, the storyline doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no thanks.
Impact kind of has the same thing going with their Allie character now, where it's like, in no way does she want to be a wrestler, but she's a wrestler. It doesn't make any sense, because they always do it with like really attractive girls, where it's like, ladies, backup dancer in a music video, porno, a lot of things that you would probably enjoy more than this, according to your character.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
probably pay that better too.
Quite possibly. It just, like, the iconic, they don't make any sense. They don't make any sense.
It does not. And the quicker I get to see Ruby Riott just probably badly injure one of them, I'm fine with it. I'll give her a pass.
I mean, I don't want to, I don't hope for injury. I just hope this is a one and done feud.
I mean, not career ending. Just keep him off TV for like 6 months.
Well, even that I don't want to see. It's just like I said, it's not the girl's fault. It's just this. It's like, what the hell are you? What the hell's with this gimmick?
I don't get it. I've never understood it, and they're fucking bad on the mic.
Yeah, they're just annoying. Which, okay, fine, they're heels. I guess they're supposed to be annoying, but here's it in a nutshell. If you could not picture these girls or guys, because a guy could do this gimmick too, but if you could not picture these girls or guy in MMA, why are they in pro wrestling?
Yep.
Like, that's the thing. Because in kayfabe, this is a world of fighters. This is real. People are here getting paid to fight. Yep. So, if you're not here to fight, and you have no interest in it, the hell are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's my rant. Show was largely good. 205 was largely good. With some, both of them had some stupidity. But, yeah, that's really all I got to say.
Pretty much. 205 Live was good, and NXT was pretty good, and that's pretty consistently where they're at on a week-to-week basis. I did not watch SmackDown or Raw, although I am going to go back and watch the Fashion Files, because I heard it was really good again.
You will enjoy it. You will enjoy it. There's anal probing.
I heard. Mr. Oliver Davis of Wrestle Talk did give a brief synopsis, and I am intrigued.
I even put up a review of the show solo.
I know.
For everyone to enjoy.
Because I didn't want spoilers.
Indeed. The only spoiler I'm giving you is anal probing.
Yeah, I already got that one, so I'm good.
Dago is my hero! Yeah, otherwise I don't think the show is all that great. So,
yeah, I don't have any intention of watching really anything other than that. They should just change it from SmackDown Live to Fashion Files Live plus other stuff. Yeah. Fashion Files and Friends.
Actually, I'll give you one other spoiler. One name.
Julio.
Arn Anderson.
Oh yeah, I heard about that too.
Which you will enjoy. You will enjoy the Arn Anderson. Oh, I guess the other thing to talk about coming off NXT is we're getting Aleister Black versus Hideo Itami.
Yeah. Also, I like the fact that Hideo's just angrily shouting Japanese things all the time. That's awesome. I like that.
I am excited for that match.
There gonna be some kickings.
I am ready. I am ready to receive that match.
My body is ready.
My body may in fact be ready. But yeah, that's about it. You're going to the movies tonight, right?
Actually just got a text and that's been called off.
Oh, that's been called off.
Want to watch some Japanese pro wrestling?
Well, I was going to say we can also knock the Lucha Underground out of the park.
That could be a thing as well.
Anyways, so we'll probably be back at you for Lucha Underground.
Woo!
And some more G1 at some point. And SmackDown later next week.
Maybe.
Because I've not been knocked off SmackDown yet. It's getting close. Fair
enough.
The Fashion Files is the only thing having me holding on. Until then, though, get off of Byron's lawn. He's got to seed it. He's got to maintain it. He's been away for a while. Smoke from the forest fires has damaged it.
Dude, the smoke here is fucking ridiculous. It's actually got a lot better today, but only just today.
Yeah, so I've heard. Sean was complaining about it earlier.
Well, he's just a whiner.
That he is.
And very short.
Anyways, off Byron's lawn, and we'll talk to you in a bit.
Triple B huevos.